Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the Feedback Loop, where today we are talking all about guitars. That's my song For the Birds, which is a guitar-driven rock song. So I thought it was fitting. Oh, turn me down there. I thought it was fitting to start with that. So what are we doing in today's video? Well, this video is going to be all about guitars. It's going to be about how to record guitars, how to connect guitars, all of your guitar recording needs. So the structure of this video is going to go like this. It's going to be a long one, but if you want the basics, as I always do every week, we're going to start off. The first 10 to 15 minutes is going to be Guitar Recording 101. So this may be things that if you're an experienced recordist or you're used to recording your guitars, you're going to be all over this stuff. But if you're brand new to recording, then it'll be good because it'll give you that breakdown. It'll answer some of those questions that maybe you've been too afraid to ask. So we're going to cover all of the basics. We're then going to jump into some of my favorite gear for recording guitars, because you do need a little bit. I know it's not all about the gear, but for recording guitars, sometimes you need a little bit of gear. And then we're going to get into some demonstrations as well as answering your questions. So if you're here on the live stream, hello, welcome. If you are here for the first time and you're not sure who I am and what this is Studio Live today, and my name is Pete Johns, and my goal here is to help you create your best music. So what my hope is that you'll watch these live streams, you'll watch a few videos over here, and then you'll go away and start recording. So I don't want to keep you here binge watching. I mean, if you want to stay here and keep binge watching my videos, that's cool. But I don't want you to be just watching videos, because you should be doing maybe 20% of that. And then the other 80%, you should take those bits of information, those tips, those tricks, those tutorials that you get, take them away and actually implement them. Start recording your own music. Unless you just like watching a guy recording music for fun, in which case, welcome. Hello. Hope you're doing well. Thanks if you're here on the live stream. We'll jump in and I'll chat to you in a moment. I'm just going to get things set up and get us talking and go through some of these basics to start with. And then we will circle back and say hello to some of the fine folks who are here in the live stream. Now, if you are here live and you have questions about guitar recording or anything else, if it's something a little bit left field, then drop those in the comments. If you can put a big Q or a big question in the front, that'd be really good. And that way I will get to those questions. If you are here live or on the replay, of course, you can leave comments on this video to ask further questions. I'm creating a video every day. So if you ask a question, chances are I'm going to get to and answer it, or potentially even create a video about it. So make sure you do that. And if you get some value out of this today, if you could share it with other folks who are into recording, or if you could add a like to the video, that'd be really cool. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, I invite you to subscribe and check out what I'm doing. Because as I say, pretty much every day, we've got something new related to the world of home and mobile recording, which is pretty cool. I talk about this every week, and I take 30 seconds out. I do 1 minute of promotion and then 59 minutes of content in this hour. So if you bear with me, I talk about a lot of gear in this video and in other videos as well. And if you go to my website at studiolivetoday.com/gear, that is where you can actually buy a lot of the gear that I recommend here. There's some links, and some of those are affiliate links, which means they'll break off a small chunk, they'll send it my way, and then it means that you get the new gear and you're helping out the channel. You can also super chat if you're here live, which you press the big S button down the bottom, and you can donate directly to the channel, and you can listen to my music. So the music I recorded, like what you heard in the opening there, For the Birds, is available on my album. If you go to petejohns.com, you can check out my music. But that is all of the introductory stuff out of the way. So why don't we jump in here and talk about the basics? First, I'm just going to say g'day and hello to the few fine folks we have here. Ian Skeggs, welcome to you. We've got Jeremy Ray Williams. We've got Goth Demon. Hello, welcome to you. Higgy Drums. We've got Music with Pete, who's reached out to me just recently, has his own channel, and I said, come along to the live stream, we'll say g'day, we'll give you a shout out. So there you go, Music with Pete, go check him out. And we've got Next Songs for God here on the live stream so far. And as others join, I will pop back and say g'day and say hello to you. All right, let's jump in, because we've got a lot to get through and we're 3 minutes in already, but we need to get onto this. So let's talk guitar recording, right? So if you're a guitarist, or if you're a guitar enthusiast, or you're looking to record guitars, you can see I have my guitars here, and here, ready to go. So we're going to do a little bit of a demo a bit later on, but I wanted to talk through the basics because I've had some questions in the last couple of weeks, and I think the problem here is that people, when they first start recording guitar, they're like, well, I've got a guitar, I've got a plug here, surely I can just plug it straight into the sound card on my Mac or my PC, or straight into, if you've got an iPad, straight into your 3.5mm jack using a converter. Well, you can do that, but there's a couple of problems. There's one which is around this type of signal that you're going to send. So it's not going to be a very clean signal, and it's not going to be a high quality signal. The other problem is monitoring. So I'm monitoring my audio on headphones right now. I use these, the Sennheiser HD280s. These are really good headphones because they will isolate the sound, which means that if you're recording a guitar part and you're overdubbing, which we'll talk about in more detail, you're not going to get the recording that you're doing is not going to interfere with the guitar recording that you're trying to do, especially if you're recording an acoustic guitar where you're using a microphone. And again, we'll cover all of this in the topics that we talk about today. So there are two main ways of recording your guitar. You can record direct, which is recording directly with a 1/4-inch jack. So if I was more prepared, I would have had this earlier, but I'll reach back. I unplug my guitar from my amp, so I've got it plugged in over there. So a 1/4-inch instrument cable. So you plug this directly into your guitar, as mine is down there, and then you plug the other end like you do into an amp, but you plug it into an interface. Now, what are we talking about? We're talking about things like the iRig. This is like an original old school iRig that has the 1/4-inch input on that side. So we just plug the guitar straight into that, and then it comes out as a TRRS cable, and this can then plug directly into, if I unplug my iPad there, this can plug directly into an iPad, an iPhone, anything that uses one of these combo jacks, these TRRS, which is a microphone and a headphone jack. And the reason that that's important is that the iRig itself has a headphone jack. So what we would then do is we would grab a pair of headphones, just some earbuds if you wanted to, or big closed back headphones like these Sennheisers, and then you record whilst you monitor. So we'll show you how we do that a little bit later, but that's the basic premise, is that we've got, say, GarageBand here, and we're recording our guitars. We plug this in here. We plug our guitar in here. We set up a track. So we'd go down to the bottom here and we'd say, yep, I want a new track. Well, I've used up all my tracks in this one. We would add a new track as a guitar track, and then we would record, and that would get our sound into there. Now, you might be thinking, Pete, isn't this going to just record like a twangy guitar-y sound? Well, yeah, that's where our amp simulators come into their own, and we'll be talking about amp sims and apps and plugins and all sorts of things that we can do with our guitar. But that is your basics. So if your guitar is electric, or if your guitar is an electric acoustic, like my acoustic over there, and it has a plug like this, a 1/4-inch jack, then you can plug that directly into any interface that has a 1/4-inch adapter. Now, these start at, about $20, and they go up from there. And again, if you go to studiolivetoday.com/gear, or the description of this video, there's a bunch of links to all of the gear that I recommend. But that's obviously great if you're using something that has a 3.5mm jack. But what if you're using something that, like this, that needs a lightning connector, or like a newer iPhone that uses a lightning connector? Well, there's a couple of solutions for you there. The first is some of the iRig Pro products. And again, they'll be linked in the description here, but the iRig Pro products use the lightning adapter. So you plug directly in via lightning, and then you can record in with really good quality sound. And they also have the 3.5mm jack. So they're handy not only for input, but you get a 3.5mm output jack, so you can monitor your audio again. So yay. The iPhones and iPads that don't have a headphone jack, you have a headphone jack back again. Jack back. And then the other option you have from there is USB. So I've talked about these a heap, and I did a video 2 weeks ago, last week, 2 weeks, all about connecting USB devices. So if you search Pete Johns USB or connecting USB, you'll find that video. But this is, if you're using mobile, you'll need something like this, a lightning to USB adapter. And this will convert any USB interface into a lightning connection. So if you're using a Mac or a PC, you're actually already golden, because you can just use any USB interface that has a instrument jack, and then you'll be able to use that. Whereas if you're using an iPad or an iPhone, which I use with GarageBand like this, then you'll need that additional cable. You'll need something like this to connect it, unless using an iRig that already uses that lightning connection. So there you go. That is a bit of the basics. Now, it wouldn't be a live show here if I didn't talk about this. This is my favorite audio interface, the Steinberg UR12. It's very similar interfaces from M Audio, from Focusrite, from a bunch of other manufacturers I'm forgetting. But anything you get that's a USB that's class compliant And again, we talked all about class compliant interfaces. Most of them these days are. It means they don't need an additional driver to run. Will work with your iPads and your iPhones, and pretty much any of them will work with your Macs or your PCs. So the beauty part about something like this is that you get a 1/4" input here that you can plug your guitar in, but you also get a microphone input here, a preamp, what's called a preamplifier, which means we can plug in our mics, which is the other way that we can record our guitars. We can actually mic up. So you'll see down here, where you can vaguely see, I've got my Shure SM57 and I've got my guitar amp. So we can actually mic up our guitar amp and then plug a microphone into our microphone input of any interface here like this one, and then we are good to go. So this gives you the flexibility of going direct, plugging your electric guitar directly in, or miking up. If you're using an acoustic guitar or you want to mic up your guitar amp, you've got an amp that you have really good sounds that you want to use instead of using an amp simulator, then you can go ahead and do that. Now, the device, if you're like, Pete, this is all very complicated and convoluted, I just want one thing. If you're on mobile, so if you're using USB, I recommend the Steinberg UR12. If you've got a device that has a 3.5mm jack, like I have here, the iPad Air 2, and most of your iPads, apart from the latest Pro models, what I like, especially for those starting out, is this little baby here. This is the Tascam IXZ or IXZ. And if you know Tascam, they are TX, like professional audio brand. This thing sells for about $40 or $50. It's really affordable. And what do we have here? Well, we've got a combo jack on the front here. Now, a combo jack means that we can plug directly in. If we have something like this, we can plug that directly into the front there. So if we want to do that direct guitar connection, this will work just like our iRig, and it even has the headphone jack on there as well. So we can monitor our sound as we're recording through this one as well. But if we unplug that, the other benefit of this one, as I reach down and not prepare my cables properly, is that we can use a microphone as well. So we can plug in an XLR cable like this, and then we can use any XLR microphone. And when I say any, that includes those that need phantom power, because this one here, we turn on, it is battery operated. So that's the other thing. It's super portable, 2 AA's, got some energizers in there doing their thing. 2 AA's, we are portable, we have phantom power, we can use any microphone, condenser mics, dynamic mics to record from there, and then we can flick this switch and it will drop straight back into guitar or instrument mode, meaning that we can unplug there, plug our guitar in, and we're good to go. So I really like this device. I've been using this for ages, and this is what I'll be demonstrating with, because it's so simple, because I don't need separate power or a whole bunch of stuff. When we go down to the desktop, and we're demonstrating a bit later in the video, you're going to see this one in action, because we're going to use this to record direct, and then we'll even experiment and see if we can record some of my guitar amp if I don't blow up my gear by turning everything up too high. Alrighty, so there's your basics. So that's the 2 ways of recording your guitars. You can go in direct with something like an iRig or something like a USB audio interface that you can go in via a 1/4" jack. You can then mic up. And again, if you're playing your acoustic guitar, you'll just literally put a microphone in front of your acoustic guitar. And I've got a whole video about how to mic an acoustic guitar, because there's a heap of different ways to do it. And when we do our demo a bit later, I'll be explaining some of those as well. But it basically, you want to point it at about the 12th fret, not get too close up on it. Use a condenser mic like this one here, the Samson CO1 or the MXL 550 that I recommend, both very affordable mics, and both over at studiolivetoday.com/gear, or something like an SM57 or a dynamic microphone, which we'll show you a little bit later on as well. So I'm just going back to my notes here. So we've talked about that. So the 2 main types of microphones, as I've talked about, your dynamic microphone that doesn't need any power. So technically, you could actually plug in a dynamic mic directly in to like your iPad or directly into the sound card on your PC or your Mac, and you would be able to record. It wouldn't sound great because it wouldn't still be going through a preamplifier. So your level of your signal would be really low. That's the beauty part of using some sort of interface, is it's going to lift up the volume. They're called preamplifiers for a reason, because they amplify the volume of the signal. So if you're thinking, hey, I'll just get away with just plugging straight in, not only can you not monitor your audio, which sucks, you won't be able to actually get a strong enough signal to actually record to. So, but yeah, if you don't want to have an interface, most of them have phantom power. So most of them can be powered, or some of your microphones, your condenser microphones, because they do need power, some will be actually battery powered as well. So then you can use them with any other interfaces or your mixers as well. So that's all good there. So there's, as I said, there's many ways to mic up your guitars, to mic your amps, and to mic your acoustic guitars directly. And I'll show some of those in a little bit later. The other thing is, I guess, when you're talking about direct, you can also go direct from like an output on your amp. If your amplifier, your guitar amplifier has an output, you can send that. Now you need to be super careful here because your amplifier is going to send a line level signal as opposed to an instrument signal. So if you plug that directly into here and have your input gain up, yeah, you can cause some damage to your gear, and you can cause some damage to this gear, the stuff on the sides of your heads, your ears, and they are super important. I don't know about you, but I rely on my ears when I'm creating and mixing music, so you don't want to blow up any of your gear or your ear. There you go. I need some rhyming like thing to do with that. Don't hurt your gears or your ears when you're recording guitars. So be very, very careful with that. We've talked about the other options. We've talked about the 3.5mm jack. I think I've covered everything here. So to summarize, let's just give the summary of the basics of guitar recording. So 2 ways to record a guitar. You can record direct with the input here. You can grab your 1/4-inch cable, plug it straight into an interface, then connect your interface to your Mac, your PC, your iPhone, your iPad, and record direct that way. You can also send from the output of your amp into your line input here, but be careful of line level signal. Make sure you turn all of your volumes down if you're going to try and do that, which we will do later. And then you can record using a microphone. So you can mic up your guitar amplifier or your cabinet of your amplifier if you've got like a nice big Marshall stack or something, or you can mic up your acoustic guitar directly. So you can literally plug a microphone into an interface and then you can record using that microphone. And we've only touched briefly on amp simulators. So again, if you're recording electric guitar, any DAW you have is going to have some sort of amp simulator or some sort of effects that you can use so that you can actually add effects to your track. So you're not just recording a live twangy guitar, a clean signal, but you're going to record a nice affected signal and you're going to get a nice amp tone in there as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to move into talking about some of the gear. Well, we've covered the gear. I was going to say, we did the basics and we actually covered the gear at the same time. So there you go. We've done the 2 sections as well. We're going to go into some how to record your sound and then some tips that I have for recording your sound. And then we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of the actual demonstration, which was always fun because if you watched last week's stream, I started demonstrating and then things went a little bit pear-shaped with my streaming. So I don't have the iPad or the iPhone screen up today because I'm keeping things simple. I'm going with simplicity as I bump my microphone over there. I'm going with simplicity today because I don't want these things to fail. Okay, let us go back and chat and see if we have any questions here from folks. So we've got some other folks who have joined us here. So, yes, we've said hello to most of these folks. We've got Diambus, hello to you. Study with Sound has got a question which we'll return to. We've got Olivier Fajardo, welcome to you. Mike Swaim is with us on board here. We've got Pete Garfunkel, hello to you, and we will come back and chat to you in a moment. Next Songs for God we've talked about, and Jeremy Ray Williams. So, let us see. We've got some questions here, and I did ask you to put a Q, which you folks have done, which is great. So Study with Sound says, hi Pete, any advantage of using your audio interface with the iPad over the iRig in terms of quality of recording? So in terms of quality of recording, what you're doing when you're using an iRig, so when you're using something like this that has a 3.5mm connection, this is sending an analog signal. So analog is going to have a bit more noise in there. So the noise floor is going to be high, which we'll talk about a little bit more later. And your overall quality, the clarity, how clear your sound is with something like this is usually a little bit lower quality. And the same with the Tascam IX. So this is why these are $40 devices. And then when you jump into your USB interfaces, they're probably $80, $90, $100 devices. Because once you go to something like this or the iRigs that are a lightning connection, you're connecting via a digital connection. So it is doing the analog to digital conversion in the box here, and then it's sending that out via USB directly to your iPhone, your iPad, your Mac, your PC. So you're going to get a better quality of sound because they have better analog to digital converters in these boxes than you have in your actual iPhone or your iPad, generally speaking. So it doesn't mean you can't get a good sound from one of these, and I'll demonstrate it afterwards to show you. So hopefully we will. But it does mean that, yeah, if you want the best quality signal, you probably want something digital. So that is the main advantage of using that over the iRig or something like that. So yes, Olivier from Costa Rica, Pura Vida to you too, sir. Weird Al Yankovic, Lost on Jeopardy. Yes, I'm a big Weird Al fan. I'm rocking my Weird Al Yankovic today. In fact, I saw old school 90s and 80s references, but I saw They Might Be Giants last night. And I bundled They Might Be Giants and Weird Al in kind of that same ballpark because they're both sort of, yeah, a little bit wacky, a little bit, could almost call novelty music. Like, I don't like to think so. I think that they just make really good music. But anyway, yeah. Sorry, I said Pete Gerdfunkel, but it's Perte or Pert. Said loved my 2i2, but swapped it for an NI6 channel. Now have to configure each port and not as loud as the Scarlett Pre's. Okay, and the iRig Pro with 2 inputs connect mic and guitar. Boom, battery's dead. Oh, sounds like you're having some issues with that. So yeah, yeah. So I also have the Scarlett 2i2, which I've used in the past, and I do actually like the pre's on that. You said that they're nice and loud, and yeah, you do get a good signal through on the Scarlett 2i2 by Focusrite, which is another one of the interfaces that I recommend. That iRig mic in the stand is pretty good. Yeah, so the iRig mic, there's a bunch that Shure make now. They make microphones that are sort of all-in-one audio interface microphone plus inputs, which are really cool. So you can go like up to the next level and get some pretty good sounds if you're going to spend the money. But I think this channel is all about sort of not budget as much, but affordability, making sure that you can get your recordings done and not blow your budget. So some more questions here. So Jeremy Ray Williams has the Focusrite iTrack Solo. Yes, works on the Mac class compliant, Windows 10 with a driver, and class compliant on the iPad, and I power it with a USB battery and then connect it to my iPad. I do exactly the same, sir. So yes, I use a USB battery on this sucker. It's separately powered, so you can switch it over there. You then plug it via USB using the Lightning to USB adapter 3, which is this one here, which no iOS musician should leave home without, because these things are invaluable or valuable or whichever version of that word it is. So yes, I agree. Question here, music with Pete. I meant cam on iPad. Oh, did I miss the first part of that question? Yes, I did. Can I record with the video cam at the same time as playing, or will I have to use a video cam? I thought I could use the phone and then mute the audio using Pinnacle Pro. So I meant cam on the iPad, or will I have to get a video camera recorder? So if you're looking to record using your iPhone or your iPad and you're recording video, so if you plug an audio interface in and then use the camera app, it will use that as the audio input. What you can't really do is route it through something like GarageBand. So a lot of folks, what they want to do is they want to play their guitar and they want to route it through GarageBand for the amp simulators and then record the audio out of that into the camera app. There are apps and plugins and things that can do things like that, but it gets a little bit more complex. And it's something that I'm actually working on doing myself at the moment, because so many people want to do that. They want to record their performance live and they want to record it to their camera app. So instead of just recording the sound separately and then having to play along and pretend that you're actually playing to record your video to it afterwards, they want it to be a live recording, but with the benefits of a recording sound as if you were recording through your DAW, so GarageBand or some other platform. So yeah, it can be done, but it gets a little bit clunky. I tend to do it separately. So if you've got two devices, I tend to use, say I'm recording to my iPad in GarageBand, I'll have my iPhone set up with the camera and I'll just record audio to that, just raw audio of me, and then record via my interface through GarageBand for the actual audio, and then stitch them up in video editing. So you can do it in iMovie, which is free, or some of the free Windows Movie Maker and things on your PC, or if you're on iPad or iPhone, I highly recommend LumaFusion, which is a really cool video editing application. It's about $20 US to buy. It cost me about 30 something here in Australia, but it is really cool. It's got a lot of great features for, you have 3 tracks of video, 3 tracks of audio, all of your effects and your titles. And in fact, if you've watched any tutorial video on this channel, you would have seen LumaFusion in action, because it is what I use. So hopefully that semi-answers your question. What else have we got here? So we've got Olivier says, can I use a USB mixer as input for my guitar in iPad or iPhone? Yes. You can indeed. In fact, my USB mixer is connected to my PC at the moment because that's what I use to record these. But I'll be connecting up my guitar to my mixer at some stage to show that. But yeah, if your mixer supports USB in and out, then yes, you can do that. So you just plug your guitar in. Most of them have input jacks for guitars that will work, that are just like the 1/4 inch input that we have here, and then you can plug those in. Some you won't get quite enough signal through, so you do have to experiment with it. So it's not probably as good as a dedicated interface or input, but you can definitely get away with it. And I have done that when I've been recording, especially if I'm doing an acoustic recording. I've got a 4-channel mixer here, so I'll have my mic input into one, and then I'll plug my acoustic, which will be being picked up by the mic, but I'll also plug in and then just add a little bit more sound with a second channel direct from the actual the pickup that's in the acoustic guitar as well. Yes, and yeah, so Next Songs for God says those Tascams are all right for analog. Yeah, they really are. So yeah, they're an analog signal, but they actually do a pretty darn good job. And once you're layering up a bunch of tracks, like, don't get caught up. A lot of folks say, oh, I'm trying to edit this vocal, but I've got this little hiss and this background noise in my vocal when I solo it. You know what the answer to that is? Don't solo it. I know it sounds stupid, but unless you are doing like a cappella music, or unless you're doing a really quiet acoustic vocal combo where you really need that crystal clear sound, a little bit of background noise, a little bit of hiss isn't going to be a problem. Have you listened to any Beatles recordings lately? Yeah. Take a listen to some Beatles recording and listen really carefully. They didn't have pristine audio, and they have some killer songs. And I know, yeah. Pete, you're saying the Beatles are good? Yeah, I know. Low-hanging fruit. But you know what I mean. Like, you don't need to stress out about how your things sound when you solo them, because no one's soloing them except for you. No one's actually going to go, oh, this song sounds great, but I wonder if there's any background noise if I soloed that vocal. No, they don't care, so you shouldn't have to care either. Anyway, slight tangent. I go off on small tangents in case you haven't been around here before. Darwin Hofer, hello to you. How come when I record vocal and acoustic guitar together on GarageBand, the vocal pans to one side? Excellent question. So, the thing with a 2-channel interface. So what you're asking here is when I record vocal and guitar at the same time. So if I plug in, and I don't think I'll use this one in this demo because I don't have all my power stuff set up. We'll see how we go. But if I record using the mic here and the guitar here, by default, this is left and right channel, right? So because this is technically just a stereo interface. It's just a stereo in, 2 out, like the Scarlett 2i2. It's going to put one on the left and one on the right by default. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to leave them there. You can edit them. The problem is, if you record it in something like GarageBand, you could easily just change the panning. So it's no problem there. It won't actually impact that. But if it's recording as a stereo track and then it's panning it hard one way, what you may want to do is in GarageBand is to what do you call it? Merge it down into one single mono track, and then you can pan it wherever you want to. So that's no problem there. The issue is that when you're using the camera app, and this is something that I've found out, excuse me, sometimes I'll record, say I'm doing voiceover for a tutorial, I'll record that using this directly onto my iPhone and directly onto the camera app, but it puts all the audio right over on the left because it's going through the left channel of the input here. So the way around that, and this is why I like LumaFusion for my video editing, because LumaFusion, you can actually then say, pull left over to the right. So basically double it and turn that mono signal on the left into like a dual mono signal on the left and right, and that fixes that problem in your post editing. So yes, another ad for LumaFusion. They don't pay me. LumaFusion, if you want to. Yeah, I do say nice things about your products. Anyone from LumaFusion wants to reach out, that's cool. No. So thank you for all of those questions. All really, really cool. So we will jump back over. Oh, we've got a couple more that have just jumped in, and then we'll answer these couple of questions, and then we'll jump back. So another 2 minutes here of questions, and then we'll go back into some tips and some ideas around your recording. So we've got, Blussian Ramen. Just want to say thanks because of your channel. I'm inspired again. I got your iPhone, 2i2 interface, Motif keyboard, and GarageBand. Boom. And that is all it takes. Like, how cool is it that we live in this world? You got GarageBand, either on your Mac or your iPhone or your iPad. You just get yourself an audio interface, get yourself a MIDI keyboard that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, and then you're off to the races. You can start recording, you can start creating, and you can start recording pretty darn cool music here on your iPad, your iPhone, your Mac, your PC. Doesn't matter. You don't need thousands of dollars worth of gear to get started. So what have we got? So yeah, so Iglesia de Dios el Olivier Verde. Actually, you could record video with effects, like you said. It does get little complicated apps like AUM, yes, AUM, iRig Recorder app, and Audio Share and GarageBand. Yeah, so AUM and Audio Bus are two apps that I haven't delved into a lot. I must admit, I try to sort of look at one or two new apps every month. But if I do too many, I get a little bit like caught up in it and confused. So I do need to start looking at Audio Bus and AUM for my audio routing, because you can do some very cool stuff with routing different audio apps to other audio apps, and GarageBand included in that. So that may be a way, and you might not be able to do it with your default camera app, but maybe something like Filmic Pro or Movie Pro or one of those higher end video recording apps. Maybe there's something I need to do there. Yeah, if you've got any ideas, or if you've got more suggestions there, or if folks have got feedback or comments about that, let me know here in the chat or in the comments, and we'll get onto it. Alrighty, thank you again to those folks who are here live. If you are watching the replay, I hope you're getting some value out of this. Hit the like button if you are, and share it with other folks who may be wanting to record guitars in their setups as well. And ask any questions. So if you're not here live to ask your questions, ask them in the comments, and we will definitely circle back, and I'll be talking more about guitars. This will not be the last time. In fact, it is Guitar Month here on Studio Live today, so we're going to have a heap of videos coming out all about guitar recording, as well as our usual other stuff as well. So let's just have a quick break. A little caffeine here today to keep me going. Like I said, I was out seeing They Might Be Giants last night, and it was a school night, so I'm not used to going out late on a Sunday night. Alrighty, so when you're recording your sound, let's get into some real world tips for when you're playing your guitar sound. So I use GarageBand, which I mentioned before, and GarageBand has a lot of really cool amp simulators in here. So most software these days does by default. So if you're using Reaper, if you're using Pro Tools, if you're using Cubase or Cubasis or Audio, whatever you're using, you're going to have some sort of way to record an audio sound and then add some guitar or guitar-like effects to it. When we go in and we do a little bit of a demo, we'll show you how we can do that, because there's some very cool things you can do. But it doesn't sort of end there, especially on your Mac or PC, but even more so on iOS these days. There's so many cool plugins. So some that you may have heard of, IK Multimedia, who make iRig products, they also make Amplitude, and they make about 17 different variations of Amplitude. So like every guitarist seems to have their own, like there's the Slash pack, and there's like all the different guitarists have their own packs, all the different sort of amp manufacturers have their own packs, so you can get the Marshall special edition of Amplitude. Anyway, you can go nuts. You can probably spend $200 buying different Amplitudes, but you can get the basic version for free, which has a couple of sounds. You can then get sort of more upgraded versions, and you can spend different amounts of money to get different sort of levels of sound. So if you're using the default plugins or the default GarageBand sounds, you're like, I want something a little bit more, you can go ahead and use a third-party plugin. Another one that's highly recommended is Bias, which is by Positive Grid. And if you've been on the channel for a while, you know that I love Positive Grid's Final Touch app for mastering on iPad. I think it's super cool, and I mastered all of my songs using Final Touch these days. They also make Bias, which is the Positive Grid Bias, which is another amp simulator. Again, it's a plugin for your Mac or PC, or a plugin for your iPad or iPhone, a third-party app, and you can use it via your audio units. You can throw it on as an effect on your guitar sounds. And again, if we don't run out of time, we'll show a lot of this stuff when we do the demos. Tone Bridge is another one that a lot of folks really like, using Tone Bridge. I hope I've actually got I've had to, because I've been doing a lot of music production, I've had to remove some plugins that I haven't been using much lately. So I may have actually removed some of these. But anyway, we'll show you the basics when we get to that. And you can use any other audio effects. So don't be afraid. When you're recording guitars, don't be afraid to throw, your standard distortion effects, your flanger effects, your chorus effects, anything, compressors, whatever you can use on your vocals, whatever you can use on any other track, you can throw on a guitar. Don't think that it's a guitar track, you can only use guitar effects, or you can only use the amp simulator effects that you're supposed to use. Use whatever you want. And sometimes, I've got better sounds just throwing a bunch of different plugins, like recording my guitar clean but layering up a few plugins, than the actual guitar amp sim. So whatever works for you. If it sounds good, it is good. Really listen to the sound, and don't worry so much about the technical side and what's real and what's not real, and it's not a real amp simulator, so it's not. No, don't worry about that. Experiment and work out what sounds right for you, and then go with that. That's the best way, in my experience. And how do you get started? Well, it's literally as easy as plug and play. So you can plug in your guitar, you can queue up a track, and then you can record. Like as we talked about in the start, all you really need is a pair of headphones, and it doesn't have to be you don't have to spend $200, not 200. These are only 100 actually. Don't have to spend $100 on Sennheiser HD 280s. You can just buy a pair of earbuds. You can just have like some regular earbuds. These work quite well, as long as they don't have a microphone built in. Like if they do have a microphone built in, like these ones do, then if you plug these directly in, it's going to use that microphone. You can use them plugged into like your devices like this, but you're better off, like your headphone jack, but you're better off getting headphones that don't have a microphone because it causes problems. It's a TRS connection there, and you're plugging a TRRS jack in there. It's not going to align the pins properly, and you're not going to get the right sound through. May work, but it'll be more out of luck than good judgment. So what are some tips? So this is the important stuff. So when you're going to record your guitars, these are my tips. And like I said, this is for the folks that like the theory, and then we're going to get into the practical. We're going to have some fun. We're going to turn some guitars up to 11. The tips is to start with everything at low volume. And I cannot stress this enough. I've made the mistake. Most people that have recorded guitars have made this mistake where if you're plugging a guitar in, before you plug anything into anything, check the input and the output volume. So make sure that you're not sending a signal that's going to overload any circuit, and make sure you're not receiving any signals that are going to overload anything. Because like I said, not only can you damage your gear, you can damage your interfaces, your microphones, your guitars, your amplifiers, whatever, but this gear. Like if you've got headphones on like this and you've got a concentrated sound going directly into your brain, then that can be dangerous. So you don't want to be risking damaging your hearing by plugging in a device that's at a full volume. So volumes down. When you're getting started, if you have to put them to 0, I recommend that and bring them up gently because sometimes that twist of gain can be that much and sometimes it can be nothing at all. Depends what's plugged in through what. And there's a bunch of stuff we can't talk about versus instrument versus line level signal, impedance, a bunch of other things that are probably a couple of levels above what we're going to talk about today. And a lot of it, I'm not an electrical engineer, so I don't know about a lot of that as well. So the best thing to do, though, is to start with low volume. All right. Using good headphones or earbuds, like I said, I like the Sennheiser HD 280. That means you can reduce the bleed. So especially for acoustic recordings, you're not going to get the bleed that you would get into your tracks that you will if you're using, say, open headphones or something that can actually come in. But again, earbuds can do the same sort of thing. They do a great job as well. Excuse me. Record at a lower volume than you think you need to. And this is a really hard one for guitarists because we like to play loud and we like loud sounds. But when you're outputting a loud sound and the input into your recording software is too high, you're going to do something called clipping. Now, if you've watched any of my videos or you've listened to me rant before, you'll know that clipping is bad and I want you to try to avoid clipping at all costs. So clipping is where you go into the red, you go over 0 dB, you distort your input signal. Now, it doesn't matter on the output side as much, but when we're talking about the input, when we're recording a sound in, and the difference here is like we're not using a distortion effect. That's okay if you want to turn your distortion effect up, but we're talking about the overall input gain on your input volume. Make sure that that is at about, I usually say 50 to 75%. Yeah, I know it sounds low, but you don't want to be pushing 80, 90% because what you're going to find is you're going to get really into a big power chord and it's going to peak. And once you have peaked the signal, you cannot bring it back. So unlike volume that is too low, you can turn it up and yeah, you might introduce a little bit more hiss or a little bit of noise floor into your recording. But if it's too loud, you can't turn it down. That distortion, that clipping, that digital clipping sound is still going to be in there. So I know I harp on this, but I've heard too many great recordings ruined by people recording too loud and you have that horrible digital distortion that just sounds crappy. So try to keep your volumes lower than you think. In terms of recording with effects, there's two schools of thought here. So number one school of thought is that you record your guitar sound in 100% clean and then you add whatever effects you want. The beauty part of that is if you want to change the complete tone, if you want to re-amps, which means to re-amplify your signal afterwards, you can do that. It basically is a fail-safe for saying record your guitars clean, then you can do what you want with them. The other school of thought is commit to your tone because you're going to play better when you're hearing the tone as it's intended. So if you're playing a punk rock tune, then crank up your distortion. Like record through your distortion on your amp or through your distortion pedal and actually commit to that sound. It means that if you want to change it later, you can't because it's already recorded, but it means that you may get a better performance. I know that, and look, I guess the best of both worlds here is that when we're using our iPads, our iPhones, our Macs, our PCs, we can add the effects as we're recording, so we can hear them back, we can monitor the effects, but then we can turn them off. So what it's actually recording is a clean signal, but we're hearing the effects played in real time. And yeah, you're gonna have a little bit of issue with latency, which we'll talk about a bit later, but it's going to work. It's going to give you that sound, but it does mean you can then adjust and change that distortion. So whichever way you like to go, maybe let me know which way you like to go. When you're recording guitars, do you like to commit to your sound early? Or do you like to go clean and then have that 100% flexibility? There's no right or wrong in music, in recording. There's just different opinions. So whichever way you like to go, let me know about it. Another couple of quick tips here. So double tracking. So double tracking your guitars can be super cool. So I do this a lot with acoustic guitar recordings. So if I've got an acoustic part that I'm playing, I'll record the same part on both sides. In fact, I'll show you that in a moment in my song here, For the Birds. So I'll record as close as I can, and then to the first one, and then get those two recordings, pan them left and right, and then that is going to be my sound. So why do you do that? Well, it's basically so that you can get a good stereo spectrum. You can record with two microphones and do a stereo recording, and I did that in a recent video, which I'll try and find and link to, but it was one where I did, I demoed the Steinberg UR44, so I recorded the stereo guitars using a stereo pair of microphones. But for most folks, if you're just using one mic, just play through your whole song, play through the whole song again, pan those suckers left and right, and you get a really nice full stereo sound. You can do the same with your electric guitars too, either on your solos or in your rhythm parts as well. You can do two and pan them left and right, or you can do two different guitars and pan them left and right. That's another good tactic in your rock songs. If you've got two different, and again, I'll show you this in my song in a moment. If you've got two different songs, you want to pan them, two different guitar types, pan them left and right, and you get a very good sound. The last tip I had here was the same as what I said at the start. Don't clip. Seriously. I actually wrote it again. I'm like, yeah, don't clip. Keep your volumes down. Start with those low volumes, build them up, test your gain and your volume levels before you start recording, because you want to make sure if you get a great recording, you don't want it to be ruined by a distorted or a clippy signal. So there you go. There are my guitar recording tips, but what are yours? Because I don't know everything. I know far from everything. So I get a lot of great tips from you folks. So if you're here on the live stream or if you're watching on the replay, drop it in the chat here or in the comments. I'll wait. I'll have a drink of delicious Coke Zero while you let me know your tips for recording, and then we're going to get on and record some guitar. All right, the time has come, as Midnight Oil say, to say fair's fair. So what I'm going to do here now, like I said, in the past I've experimented with different methods for doing this. I have used my screen recorder, I've used sort of AirPlay and some other things, and it has basically caused all sorts of problems. So we're going low tech here today. I'm going to tilt my camera down, and I'm going to show you my desktop here where I'm going to have things set up, and you're going to be able to see my guitars here in the background. I've got things pretty much positioned so that you'll be able to see what's going on here, and I'll be able to stay sort of central to things and show you what I'm plugging in and how things are working as we're going along. So again, if you are a practical learner as opposed to a theoretical learner, this part is going to be for you. What's the timestamp here? It's like 43 minutes. I should remember that so I can put, if you want to just see the demos, go to 43 minutes of the video. So we'll get this set up in just a moment. I'll just flick back to our chat for a moment to see if we have any questions before we get started. Let's have a look here. We got lots of questions. So we've read those ones there. Ian Skegg says, every time I record using GarageBand, everything is perfect except for the music. Oh, I love it. I love it. Love it. Jeremy Ray Williams recommends the Samson G-Track Pro. I've heard about the G-Track Pro, and I keep meaning to check it out because I love my Samson gear, as you can tell, my Samson mixer, Samson mic. So good tip there. Jeremy Ray Williams said amplitude and bias for me, awesome stuff. And the GarageBand amp sims are excellent. Ian Skegg says, good advice. Goth Demon says, can you plug a pedal into something like iRig, then to GarageBand? You sure can. Great question. In fact, if I can find one of my pedals, we'll maybe do it here. But I did a whole video about that. I know you're going through my back catalogue at the moment, which is very flattering. Thank you for doing that. Search Pete John's guitar pedal, and I'll show a video where I record a distortion pedal and a wah pedal through my iRig. It's very cool. Yeah, so just lower the volume going in. Yes, definitely. So using a guitar pedal. Sorry, Ian Skeggs has already answered the question. Yes, you can use a guitar pedal, but yes, make sure your volume's low going in. Otherwise, you will make things go bang and boom, which you don't want to do. Olivier says, can you in the near future make a tutorial video about the use of GarageBand or other similar apps for use in live situations? Yeah, I do need to, because I want to work out how I can, because at the moment I use OBS, so I use the Open Broadcast software to do these live streams through my PC, because I haven't found a really effective way to do that mobile because of all of the signal processing and effects and things that I need to do. So yes, we'll be covering that in a future video for sure. Alrighty, thank you folks. Now I have to adjust that timestamp. It's actually 45 minutes in that we're going here. So let's see how we are going. Yep, we're all good here. All right, let's adjust our camera first of all. So you're going to get a downward view. So you're not going to see my face, bye, for a little while, because I want you to be able to see all the things that are going on down here and what we're actually playing back with. So let's tilt our camera down. Yeah, this is really high tech, isn't it? There we go, down onto the desktop. So now what you can see is, you can see my guitar set up over here. You can see my iPad set up here, and then we'll be able to plug in and set up our gear here, right here on the table, good to go. So here's what you won't be able to see the iPad super well here, I realize that, but the point here is more how we connect stuff up and then get going with this. But this is my song For the Birds, and you can see vaguely here that we've got a bunch of different guitars here. We've got, in fact, we'll solo these and take a listen. So this is guitars that I've recorded through the amp simulator here in GarageBand. So if we go back to the start, now I'm going to take my own advice and turn my volume all the way down and hit play. And then we'll just bring this up on my mixer. Oh, you know what I'm doing? I don't have these plugged in. Well done, Pete. Doing well. Let's plug this into my mixer and then we'll do that. So there's one of my guitars there. The other guitar... And that's what I was saying before about those dual tracking guitars. I've got one guitar there and another guitar there. They're using different amps, different guitars, different sounds. So someone talking to me on my YouTube. Different sounds there, and they're using different amps. And then I've got a third one here, I think. Yeah, this is my bass. So then my bass guitar is using its own separate amp. Let's just solo that one and play. We didn't talk very quietly there. We didn't talk much about bass amps here and bass amps in, but you can do all the same things with a bass guitar as you can with a regular guitar. Whack that microphone. Good job, Pete. But the thing we have with these two is that they're actually panned. So again, you won't be able to see this in a heap of detail, but if we go to our panning here, we've got one panned in at the left there, and we've got another one panned in the right. So if you're listening back in stereo, when we play those, again, we'll just solo those out. If you're listening in stereo, you'll hear that these are one on each side. And what I've also got there is some acoustic guitars we'll bring into the mix. So those acoustics are pretty low. Let's just bring them up a bit for the sake of this. And that's where, again, you could do this panning, where you might want to pan one all the way over there, and one like that. And then you get that sort of stereo effect. So you can actually have a stereo panned acoustic guitars as well as that. So that's what I prepared earlier, but you don't want to see that. You want to see me do something from scratch, yeah? So let's go back. We're going to create a new document here in GarageBand, and we're going to scroll across here to our amplifier. Yeah, sorry, it's so reflective there. There's not much I can do for a better view. We're going to select our amplifier. We'll go in and we'll do a clean tone. We'll tap on that one for a clean tone. You're going to bring up your amp sim here, and regardless of what you're using, this is kind of how you're going to set up to start with. You can see there that we've got our input here, which at the moment, it's just using our onboard mic as the input. So we could record using nothing but the onboard mic. In fact, let's do that. Let's show that as our first demo. Let's grab my acoustic guitar here, which I have. And if we just wanted to record a track, we could actually just hit record and do this. Now, the problem is I've got no headphones plugged in here, so I'm not going to be able to hear the metronome or anything. I'm just going to turn that off. But if we just wanted to record, we could... And it's just using the onboard mic here. So we'll stop that. We'll go back to my, not my songs, didn't want to do that. We'll go back to my track view here, and then we can play this back. We could... And that quality is not going to be great, yeah. Partly because I realized that we set up for an electric guitar and then we recorded an acoustic guitar track into there. So it's using that sound. So in fact, if we added a new track here, just so that you can hear that it doesn't actually sound as bad as that, if we go to here and we go to instrument, this will bring it into the nice room setting, which is actually our acoustic guitar sound. And if we just drag this one down to here, just so that you can hear that the onboard mic doesn't actually sound that bad for acoustic guitar. Let's play this now. Good. So there you go. That is how we can actually get that sound in. What I'm going to do now though is let's switch it out. We're gonna move all over the place here. So I'm going to put my acoustic back over here and try and knock everything down at the same time. If that falls, yeah, it's my fault. Okay, so let's go back here. So we've got this one at the top here is our clean guitar sound for our amp. Now, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to grab the Tascam IX here, and I'm going to remove this plug here, and I'm going to put this in the headphone plug. So what you're hearing is the headphone output. So just like you were hearing it directly from the iPad, what I'm now going to do... Yeah, you can hear me tapping on that. I haven't taken my own device and turned the input down. I'll do that now. So we've got this one. We'll bring it out so you can see it. We're going to plug that in there like so. So here is now our input ready to go. So this is plugged in, and now this is on our guitar input there. I'm going to turn the phantom power off. Now we've got our input gain here that we can dial up and down here. So again, we will dial that all the way down to start with because we don't want to blow anything up here. And now if we tap on here, we've also got an input level here. So when you're using an analog device like this, you'll be able to dial in your input gain here. You can put it on automatic for GarageBand and for some of yours. I know you can't see much of this, but I recommend setting your input gain. You've also got a monitor button here, which you can tap the monitor button there, or when we come back out here to track view, we can actually slide this out and monitor our audio once it's plugged in here. Sorry, up on here. No, we can't do that. Yeah, because I'm used to using digital and I'm using analog here today, so it's a little bit different. But anyway, let us give this a go now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach over here and grab my guitar and then bring it back and plug it in. So one moment. Okay, we have the guitar and we're slightly off mic here. So my guitar is plugged in. We're then going to plug this end in here into our Tascam IX. Click, it is in, and then we should be good to go. This is the part where things potentially fail. What I'm going to do is I'm going to check that I'm actually playing back my audio first. So I've turned up my mixer there. I'm just going to play back this first track to make sure that that's still working. Yep, turn it up a little bit. Onboard mic. All right, so we can hear the playback. So we're going to be able to hear this when we start monitoring it. Now let's see if Pete can take his own advice and not blow everyone's head off when we do this. Stop. Stop. Thank you. I'm doing this all upside down. Again, a little bit tricky to actually do this. So you can see there we've got signal coming through, but we can't hear it. Why can't we hear it? Because we're not monitoring. Okay, so to monitor, we tap on our little icon here, and then we tap on our guitar plug and we turn monitoring on. And there is our guitar sound. Now we can very gently move our input gain up. Until we start getting our sound. Now we do have an input gain on here as well, but that doesn't do anything for our guitar sound because the input gain, I've only just remembered this, which is why I didn't say before, the input gain is only for our mic preamp. The instrument output comes out as an analog signal, and then you adjust the input gain here in the app, but it's all good. So let us now do a bit of a test recording here. Let's see if we can, yes, we'll make sure that we've got our volume up. Can we go even higher? So that's our full volume there. Look at that, that's clipping. Can you see and hear that that's actually clipping our signal? That's what we don't want to do. So let's bring it down to, and I'll just actually turn it up over here so you can hear it a little bit better. All right, let us now go back and record. So that is connected. Like, how simple is that, yeah? So you grab your Tascam IX, you plug your guitar in at one end, that at the other end, pair of headphones into your iPad or your iPhone, and you're recording your guitar straight away. And if we use the iRig, exactly the same process. We'll just do the same thing, same connections, but we just have the microphone on this one, which we'll be able to show in a minute. So let's come back. We'll make sure that we're not playing along with this original track. So we'll mute that sucker, and then we can bring our metronome back on and hit record, and let's just play a little bit of a track here. That's terrible. Let's not play that. Let's play something a little bit cooler. You know what? You should actually press the record button, not the play button, when you start recording something. Let's try this again. One more time with feeling. 3, 4. And we'll just go with that. So if we come back to here, go back to our guitar here, there's our guitar. So it may be a little bit soft here even. And I know you can't see it super well, but if we play it back. So that's with our nice, like, clean guitar sound, yeah. But the reason I played sort of some power chords there is that if we come back to the start here, what we can now do is we can adjust that tone. So this is what I was talking about before between your, do you sort of do it in clean here and then change it up, or how do you go about it? So if we tap on clean combo here, and let's go with like something distorted. Let's like up this to fuzz overload. Now take a listen. Yeah, so that's pretty intense and insane. Let's go with something crunchy, shall we? So let's just go with like the Bohemian Rock and take a listen. So apart from like my terrible playing, you can see there that you can actually get a pretty decent signal in there. What I'm going to do now though is let's record. Let's go back and we'll add a new track. We'll mute these as we go, otherwise we're going to get all caught up here. And the idea is not to demonstrate my good, bad, or otherwise guitar playing, but just to show you what we can do here. So we'll grab the clean track again here, and instead of clean combo, let's just go with something like just our clean stack. We don't have our monitoring on. That is the one thing that whoa, we've lost our mic. One thing that you'll get used to is that, yeah, you're constantly going in and going, why can't I hear it? Oh, my monitoring's not on. Okay. Turn that up a little bit. Are we still not monitoring? Yeah, we're monitoring now. Oh, we need this to go up a little bit. The other thing we probably should have done is, tuned my guitar before I started. Anyway, so let's go back to here. We do have a guitar tuner built into GarageBand too. We could actually tune up as we go. Let's just get a little bit closer to in tune. Yes, you are sitting watching a man tune a guitar. I'm very sorry. But hopefully you're getting some value out of this, and hopefully, if you aren't already recording a guitar, you should be, and if you are already recording a guitar, you're going to learn some new things maybe you didn't know. So let's go out of our tuner now, and now let's record. We'll hit record there. So there's our first track that we're going to record there. Let's come back to here. Now, we did talk about that we can use third-party plugins and everything else on here. So let's see if I do, in fact, have any third-party plugins that I can use here. We'll go clean combo again. We'll go in here to our plugins and EQ. If you want to learn how to use GarageBand in more detail, including how to use your plugins and EQ, then I've got plenty of videos here on the channel that you can check out. So we'll come in here and we'll add audio unit extension and see what we got here. All right, we got all sorts of things here. Oh, do I have any? I've got all sorts of things except any decent amp simulators. What I do have though is I have the Fuzz Plus, which I kind of like, from Audio Damage. Except my monitoring's not on this track yet, is it? So I'm going to come into Fuzz Plus. Let's hopefully not destroy everything. So let's get my monitoring happening first. Up here, monitoring. And let's turn the Fuzz Plus on, like so. I need to turn the volume up on my monitor. So let's go and adjust some of this and give ourselves a little bit more fuzz, shall we? Distortion. Doesn't seem to be working particularly well. Yeah, I've had a few issues with that plugin recently. So we're probably not going to be showing the whole lot in the way of actual third-party plugins. But trust me that you can use Bias, you can use Tonebridge, you can use Amplitude. I just happen to not have any of them on this at the moment, which is a bit of a shame. But that's okay. We'll come back here because, yeah, so there you go. You can see that this one here, if we just solo it, this track here recorded at a quite nice level. It's not clipping, but it's nice and a healthy level. So if we play back this one. So we'll just use that as our little basis. I mean, it's only 5 bars, but that's okay because we'll record some other guitars over the top of this. So the other question that I get asked an awful lot is, can we mic up a real guitar amp? And that's what we're going to actually try now. So I'm going to put my guitar down for a moment over here. And instead of using this interface here, we're going to unplug that one. What we're actually going to do, and Gussie Wells, who's one of my subscribers, asked about this recently, and I've never got around to doing it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it on this live stream. So what we're going to do, we're going to plug in our microphone. So we're going to plug this end in here of our XLR cable. Boom, that is in there. I'm going to flick this over to mic mode, which, see, I've done exactly what I said not to do. You could hear that coming through. You could hear that click, click, because I didn't have my volume down. Phantom power can stay off, and my input signal is going to stay right down the bottom until we actually play with this. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go silent because I'm going to go away from the mic for a moment, but I'm going to go and take this end down. I'm going to plug it into that SM57. I'm going to turn on that Marshall amp, and I'm going to plug in this guitar to my Marshall. And then we are going to see how we can record here in GarageBand using this microphone. So just a moment while I hook everything up. All right, so our mic is going to go here. That's in, like so, almost. There we go. That's plugged in. That goes onto there. That's going to be pointing at that. And then this end of our guitar cable goes into our input. Our amp goes on. We have liftoff with the amp. So what we can now do is come back up here. Come back up here, and we are back on mic now. So now let's set up to record this now. So yes, I'm using the iPad here. If you're using another platform, it'll be very, very similar because you just need to now tell it that we want a mic input here instead of what we already had. So we're going to go plus here. We're going to go to mic, and we're going to go more sounds, and we're just going to get a clean one this time around. We're going to go fun and clean. So this is a completely clean audio signal coming in. So now we're going to tap on here. We are going to make sure that we are getting a sound. Actually, what I'll do, just grab this. I'm just going to grab my SM57 and make sure it's actually working here. Turn the input up a bit. There we go. Check. 1, 2. Let's monitor this to check it. Check. I'm going to turn this back up. Check, 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 check. Not quite getting enough signal through. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3. Check. There we go. We are coming in. So I've had to turn the input gain up quite a bit on this one because I'm using a dynamic mic. If I turn it down, you can see there it doesn't come through. If I turn it back up again, yeah, so I'm putting it almost to the top, but we'll need to play around with that once we play a loud sound through our amp to see if that's going to be the same. We also then have this dial here. Again, if we go up too loud though, we're going to start clipping. Bah! Yep, so we need to play with these. But again, if this was a condenser microphone like this one, then you would need nowhere near as much gain. So always start low. Even when you're using a dynamic mic like an SM57, start with your gain really low. So now I'm going to go back and put the SM57 down at the amp, and then let's see how we record using our amplifier. All right, we're in place. I'm going to pick up the guitar carefully because we have cables going everywhere here. And then there you go. You get that nice sound of your amplifier. You can get that coming through and recording in your device. So if you don't want to use your amp sims, if you want to go old school, and yes, this is only a Marshall little like digital transistor transformer one. It's not like a nice valve amp or anything, but it's going to do the trick for this one. So let's come back to here. Make sure that I don't blow anything with distortion. So what was this in? So this was So this was doing that down out. So okay. All right, we'll record something similar. We'll record along with this. So if we go to the start here, we've got this track selected. We'll do our multi-tracking. So we're going to hit record. So we've sort of doubled that guitar part there. We'll come back over to here. There we go. So we've got that there. Let's listen to that one back. So that's through our Marshall. And then if we come back to this one, back to the start. I got the riff completely wrong. So we can't really play them together because they're going to sound weird because I didn't play the same riff. But yeah, let's just do it for fun. Play this together. Oop, play. And they're sounding really out of tune because I think because I bumped my guitar, I sort of knocked it around the place. But then what we can do, we can mix and mash this sort of stuff up. So if we move this one over onto a guitar sim track, now we're talking. Now we can actually change this up. So if we wanted to add some distortion, we can actually come in here and change this from our clean combo. Let's just change it to something sort of crunchy. Put that classic crunch on there. And then if we play that back, oh, it's coming through. Hang on, it's monitoring at the moment. That's all right, we'll just play it. There we go. So we've got a real fake Marshall, real fake Marshall going into another fake Marshall. Anyway, it sounds good. Like it's a good tone. Like don't worry about it. Don't worry about the real versus the fake and what you're doing with it. This is just another way. So there you go. We've covered how to get your direct guitar signal into here. We've covered how to use our SN57 to mic up our guitar. And yes, there's a heap of different ways that you can mic it up. You can put it in different positions. You can put it behind the amp. You can do a bunch of cool things like that. But this is the basics of how we can record. Now, there's one more thing that we can do, which is recording an acoustic guitar. So we're going to unplug the electric. I'm going to turn all of that off. I'll just turn the volume down on that so that it's not going to come flying through. And let's talk a little bit. We showed the acoustic at the very start, but let's just mute all of these again and we'll show recording an acoustic guitar. So we're going to come in here to our audio recorder to instrument to get our acoustic guitar ready. Now we've already got our mic set up in here, so we can come in here and yep, we'll turn our monitoring back on for our microphone and we'll make sure that that volume is dialed in at the right level. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the SM57 up here onto the tabletop and it's still plugged in with this red mic cable, and then I'll grab my acoustic and I'll show you how we can mic up and record an acoustic guitar. So there's my SM57 up there. It's got a very dodgy mic clip. You might have noticed the mic clip just falls completely off, which is why it's not staying in the right position, but that's okay. It'll work for this demo. We'll grab my guitar. which hasn't completely fallen over yet, which is good. We'll bring it on over. So now, what we can do is we can point this down carefully, because of its dodgy mic clip, towards around about here, around about that 12th fret that we were talking about before. And you can see there we're not getting a whole lot, so we're probably going to have to really go up here on the input gain, because we're using a dynamic mic and a slightly more quiet instrument here. So let's just give it a go here. This is probably a good advertisement for why you probably want to use a condenser mic with your guitar recordings, because you're going to get a better signal through. But yeah, the SM57 should still work. So let's just play something random here. We'll go to the start of the track and hit record. Oh, we've got no metronome. Oh, we've got no volume coming through at all. Why is that? Oh, I've protected us by turning the mixer down, which means that now we don't have volume. That's all right. We'll go back. Start this one again. There we go. I played that really badly. I'm actually ashamed of that playing, so I'm going to go back and start that again. So there you go. There we can record in our acoustic guitar, go to our track view here, boom. And yeah, you can see the problem here is that the volume level is going to be super low on that. Let's play it. Yeah, so you're going to have a really low volume. You can turn it up a bit. And it's okay. But yeah, it's probably, again, it's an advertisement. It's why that I recommend if you're going to get one mic, get something like the Samson CO1 or this one here, the MXL 550 that's dangling in from above you as we speak. These are good middle of the road. They're between sort of $50 and $100 mics, and they do a good job, especially at the entry level. If you're just getting into recording, a Tascam IX and a Samson CO1, and you're pretty golden, because you can just start recording anything. Just grab a mic cable as well, might be handy, but you can start recording anything and you can do this. Now, not all is lost. As I said, lower volume is better than higher volume. So if we did have a track like this, and again, it's not really a GarageBand video, but if we came in here and we merge this track, tap it, merge this track with itself, tap on merge there, it will then normalize the volume. So there you go. It's normalized the volume of that audio. So now we'll just turn it down a bit if we played it back. And right at the end there, you can hear a little bit of that background noise, like I was talking, that noise floor, that hiss. But I hope you agree that for, like a $50 device or $40, however much these are, and like a standard SM57 microphone, that's a pretty decent quality sound like that you're getting there. And that's without any processing, without any changes. And then, as we did before, which one was it? Was it this one that was our, I should have labeled these as we went along. Was it this one that was our SM57? No, it wasn't. That was the original one. That was the direct one. So the direct signal sounded really good, like pretty clean tone. And then when we recorded with our microphone using miking up our amp. And that was the one that we actually did through the cab. But if we go back to our clean sound, through the guitar sim. If we go back to our clean sound and go, I keep having to, I've got the notifications on here. So that's just people commenting on YouTube, which is nice. Thank you, folks. So the thing that's standing out there is that it's a pretty clean sound like that you're getting through. Again, using this device and using the microphone. It's probably just my out-of-tune guitar and bad playing and bad amp settings that will make it sound a little bit less than ideal. But hopefully this has shown you that it is not rocket surgery here. It is a very simple process to get your guitar sounds recorded in. And hopefully some of those tips that we talked about and seeing it displayed and demonstrated like this just shows you that, anyone can pick this up and do this. You don't have to be some engineer type or anything or technical type to do this, if you can hit a record button, if you can plug in a couple of cables, and if you can set your volume right, then you can actually get this done. So let us unplug everything here now. I'm going to turn the volume down on the mixer so that, again, we don't get any pops and clicks as we unplug and unplug and unplug. We'll turn that one off, which is all good. We will move this one out of the way. Oh, I have to sneeze in a moment, so warning on that one. Not quite. No, went away. No, here it is. Excuse me. I should get better at writing my mic down. Let's bring this one back up, and we'll finish off the stream here. Hello, welcome back. I hope you found that a little bit fun. It was a bit weird with my head cut off for that time, but I think hopefully you agree it's a better thing for you to see what's happening down here and what I was plugging in and what I was doing than actually seeing my face. So, and in fact, some of you may have preferred it. You may have had a great time. So let's check back in with the folks to see if anyone is still here. I'm going to click back to the live chat, and it's going to be like crickets, tumbleweeds rolling through. Let us come over here. I've got to go right back up to see where people were chatting. That we've already talked about. So, Music with Pete says, there's no input to the mixer, we can't hear it. We sure can't. I hope you could hear some of that. Hopefully some of the audio did eventually come through. Oh, yeah. I was monitoring it and it was coming through at my end, but maybe it was just when it was actually not playing back. All right, so thanks for the video. Great info. The pan, what you were saying before to give the stereo effect. Do I have to record the guitar twice? Yes. So it's a really good question, actually. So this is Music with Pete. Yes, you do need to record it twice, because if you just use the same recording and copy it and then push it to the left and the right, you're not going to be able to actually hear anything. You're not going to hear any different. It's just going to double the volume, yeah? Because it's the exact same notes. It's the slight differences. It sounds a bit weird. Same with vocal doubles. It's the slight differences between the two sides that are actually going to make it different. So yes, if you are doing a doubled of a vocal or a guitar or anything like that, then you will have to do that. Yes. So and Ian Skeggs answered that. So the best way is to record via an amp using 2 mics and selecting 2-channel input. Yeah, so you can definitely do that. If you've got a 2-channel interface, you can use 2 different mics as well. So Valerie, hello, welcome to you. Could you just record your voice and layer presets with GarageBand? I only know 3 chords on guitar. Yeah, totally. So I guess that's the thing, is if you are learning guitar, if you're just starting out and you're learning guitar, yeah, you can use all of your virtual instruments. You can use your keyboards, you can use your synth sounds, you can use your automatic, like your virtual guitars. You don't have to do everything with the guitar, with a real guitar while you're learning. There's a heap of different ways you can get it done and a heap of different options that you can use. But then, yeah, while you're learning, you can just, yeah, do that. But yeah, no, layering it up, getting different samples in there, different effects in there, absolutely fine. And then just use your 3 chords to your advantage. Just play them and then loop the 1 chord for the whole song if you need to. But no, just practice and try and do your thing. You'll be absolutely fine. So there you go. That is going to do it for this live stream. I hope you folks found that interesting and useful. If you did get some value out of this today, and if you learnt something, then yep, hit the like button. And if you've got any comments, if you're watching on the replay and you've got any comments about this, or you wanted to see me do something different or demonstrate something else, then definitely let me know down in the comments as well. If you want to check out any of the gear that I mentioned in this video, you can head on over to studiolive.com/gear. That's where you're going to find all of the information that I talked about today. So all of the different devices, your Tascam IX, your Sennheiser HD280 headphones, the Steinberg UR12 interfaces, everything I talked about today is going to be over there at studiolivetoday.com. So thank you again, everyone. Thanks for everyone who was here on the live stream. Thanks for sticking with me, and I will see you next time around. Cheers.